All right. What's going on, everybody? Needs more drums back in Los Patrias in Percusión. And today we're going to start a super cool episode that I'm very excited about. Something that we needed to do for a long time, and that is developing some of our industry. I guess I should say we didn't need to do it for a long time. We've been developing it over time, but today's just one of those. It's finally about time to kind of I want to repurpose this area here, and I don't like the industry being here. And it was in our starting tile, so we didn't really have a choice. But this, my jury's out on this. I might keep it here, just as something different. But for now, I do want to get rid of some of this. And so, in order to do that, though, we have a super high demand for industry. So I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to put it, and that place is definitely over in this area. So the reason that I like this area is, when uh, this has kind of been pre-designed for a nice little port, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. It's on the outskirts of the city, and it has a great highway connection to a neighbor connection over here, and then also trucks that they can bypass the city on this road here, which will probably turn into a highway when the time when we need to, when the time comes, which is not now because there's not a ton of traffic. But this will be a nice route, and then they can go kind of along the outskirts rather than having to drive through the downtown to get over here. So yeah, this is just all around a good spot. Plus we have great rail access, which is always super important. And this is a great plus. And the last thing is there's just a lot of open space, so we have some room for some bigger ports, bigger factories, things like that. So I'm really, really excited to start working in this area. It's going to turn out, I think, really, really nice. And yeah, I just kind of like to jump right in. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So as you can see, the financial situation is looking quite a lot better. And that's not just because of the tax increase that you guys are all telling me to do. It's actually because right after I recorded the last episode, we hit the big city milestone. And so we have, it came with a nice cash bonus. And we also have access to some more, another tile. So I'm actually going to go ahead and purchase that because I do know where I want to expand the city, and that is out this way. I'm going to go ahead and purchase that tile there. Now we have some more boundaries, and we could expand out this way, which is actually very, very useful because this could also serve as a very nice area for industrial expansion. And I say that because we're right, again, great highway connections. This would be great for the farm connection. It's nice and close. And then this, goes out to this highway up here. So this would be a great, and it's far away. And then as, this area starts to diminish, we could kind of push some of this industry out this way and utilize this space for something a little bit better. And, maybe like a sports complex or something in the future. So keep that in mind. But for now, I like this plan here of starting out over here. So let's go ahead and start laying the groundwork for some roads and just kind of see what happens. I don't have too much of a plan yet, but I think it always helps when you just kind of start building and seeing what comes of it. Yeah, so I'm already really, really liking this area, and this is going to be so perfect for what we're going to do. And so the first industry that I want to place down, this second main factory that we have access to, is this lemonade factory. And all we need is some crops and some metals. Or is that metals? It's glass, I think, actually. Actually, I'm not. Actually, I don't think we have that yet, do we? Let me see if we... No, I think we only have metals. Uh-oh. Well, that changes things a little bit. I thought we had glass, or I thought that was metals, but it's definitely not. So I think we need to level up our ore area first before we can actually place that down. Or, you know, what I like to do too is just place it down, and then we can, oh, we're like right there too. We are so close. We just need a few more workers. Well, I guess that will come as our residential population grows. But for now, I think I'm going to place it down anyway, and then we could just, you know, deal with that later. Or just deactivate, you know, you can turn the building off. So we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, and then that'll just, as we get enough people and enough resources, we'll revisit this later. So since this does take up a big footprint, I like to do a thing where I kind of separate for big factories like this, I like to put them a little bit off the beaten path and kind of separate them with a, oh, where's my road here that I'm looking for? This one. So just to kind of let it sit on its own. And I'm actually gonna have to bring this out even more. I don't want those tanks to be, actually we can just adjust the terrain. I think that'll be fine. Yeah, that's definitely all right with me. Cool. So for now, I'm going to turn it off because we don't have all the resources that we need. That's just going to look so... I love these industries, DLC things. I mean, these things are just... They're just so awesome, and they make such a cool presence in your city. You know, when you have these big factories, it just looks so realistic. Industrial areas aren't full of a bunch of small buildings. You know, they're always full of these huge things, and so this is just so perfect that these are in the game now, and I love using these whenever I can. And I've actually never had a city get, you know, to the point where I can actually place down some of these unique factories unless I'm, you know, have them all unlocked, which I didn't want to do in this series. So this is so awesome that we get to do this, and it's, you know, and it's legitimate. we're not you know, cheating and actually you know, and just having everything unlocked. We are actually earning these buildings, which is super cool, and I'm super excited that we get to do that. We'll just do that for now for power, and this warehouse will obviously be for the lemonade factory as soon as we get it going. But for now, just planning everything out. I think that is going to be awesome, and then actually we'll go back and detail this up a little bit later. But for now, the next thing that I want to do is continue zoning out some actual industry here. So since this is going to be sort of its own thing, I kind of want to leave that a little bit separate. So what I'm actually going to do is zone out another area here just for these industrial buildings. And I know that this is looking a little whack right there, but I do have a solution. This is a great mod or asset, whatever you want to call it. But there's just these little concrete wall networks. And it's cool what you could do with these. You know, you can just kind of drag them out and then position them kind of wherever you need to. And they make a great, you know, detail for overpasses like this or any kind of tunnel. So would highly recommend grabbing these if you need to hide some of the ugly areas in the city like this. These things are just absolutely perfect. And look at that. Gone like it never even existed. And so I know I said that I would save this spot maybe for something in the future. So I'm actually going to keep this open for now and just put down maybe like a warehouse right here for some regular industrial goods. I think that will be just fine, and it will be a nice use of this space as well. Because you could actually just put regular commercial goods in your warehouses, and that helps, you know, gives them a purpose, and not to mention that these warehouses actually look really cool and realistic. So I love to put those down whenever I can. And then just making this a district so we can actually apply our theme management so I don't get any ugly looking industrial buildings that we don't want. All right, so now since we got a nice little start to this, I actually want to go ahead and keep expanding because we have the room and it will look very nice if we have a little bit more industrial buildings here. And then what's cool too about this is that as we expand our specialized areas like the ore and farming industries that we have in the city, and then eventually, you know, when we get to oil, we can convert some of these, excuse me, we can convert some of these, you know, regular generic industry buildings into some storage facilities and other processing facilities. Well, probably not processing because this won't be a specialized industry area, but other facilities for our specialized industry areas, like, you know, some oil tank fields and stuff like that. So again, just thinking about that for the future. And I don't think I'm going to go ahead and add, you know, all the detail up this waterfront too much yet, because I still am not super sure what I want to do with it. So I'm just going to kind of leave this alone for right now. I'm thinking the port might sit more over here, and this might be more of, I want to find a place to put a fishing industry as well. So that'll be something that would be nice to have in the city. So I'm thinking, I don't know, either over here or even somewhere along one of the rivers maybe, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. This is kind of a little bit of awkward terrain to work with, but I do kind of want to keep all the industry down here to avoid working on any unnecessarily steep slopes. So, you know, what we could do is just kind of move this terrain back and just create sort of a little cliffside here coming off of this highway. And that'll be all right. I think we have a notification saying that one of our landfills is full, so I'll go ahead and start emptying that, because our garbage is definitely, we have plenty of processing now, so this is awesome. Super excited about that. Definitely don't have to worry about that for a little bit, which is always nice. I'm actually going to go back, since we're on the topic of industry, I'm actually going to go back and create another connection to this road, because that was kind of weird just the way it was. Actually, I'm going to put it closer to the bridge so it's not right next to the roundabout. But I thought it was kind of strange how this was just kind of off, you know, on its own here. And so having another connection will definitely help. And then we can actually expand this area out even more, sort of create some more industry over here. And yeah, since we're doing this too, I think I might as well spend a little bit of time real quick and just kind of detail up some of these areas. So one thing that I like to do is, if you've seen in, I think the very first video for the series, you know, I like to use Surface Painter to create some of these concrete areas, and then I'll fence this in and maybe put down some trailers and additional industrial assets to give it that, you know, complete look. And then something that I always like to do too as well, which is a little trick I learned from $2.20. Would highly recommend checking out his videos if you haven't yet. You are missing out. But for these areas like this, I like to place down sort of some like abandoned lots, you know, and give it kind of that rundown look. And you know, there's actually some really cool vanilla assets that you could use for this too, like some old you know, building blocks like this. Put down a couple of these, sort of give the remnants of a foundation. Same with, like, you know, some of these things here even. Then I always like to have these there are these little piles of rubble here that are awesome, or like this concrete debris. Oh, that's perfect. I didn't even know that asset existed. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. Perfect. And then we got even some decals here. And some of these are actually vanilla, so, you know, maybe putting down like one of these here. There we go. That gives it a nice, you know, this spot. Maybe a warehouse is no longer there that once was, so that's perfect for that industrial aesthetic. And of course, fences are super cool. A great way to add realism to any of your areas. And this is, you know, no exception. So kind of creating some fences between these buildings sort of gives the impression that, you know, these are separate companies, separate factories, and then we can kind of create some little industrial yards around some of these. And these are more just fantastic assets to use. These concrete brush assets, these things give you a nice clean line if you're doing like a fenced in area like this. And then you can kind of go ahead and fill in the gaps with Surface Painter, but at least, you know, now I have this very clean line to my fence line, which I didn't use here because I'm actually going to go ahead and fill this in with some trees and bushes, so it's not the end of the world, and you know, you probably won't even see this. Then I'm actually going to go ahead and make this sort of a nice little forest area. Give us some separation from the highway here. What I can also add is a couple of these trees that I downloaded from the workshop. These that I use in the farms over here. Some of these Australian trees to give something a little different than just the vanilla ones. I love these. They're super nice. Very well done. Always love to have some good trees in my city. It definitely changes the whole atmosphere, and I know I've said it like thousands of times, but I just can't say it enough how important trees are in making your city look realistic. And I need to take my own advice and actually start to upgrade some of my neighborhoods by adding some trees, but I haven't done that yet, so I will do that soon, I promise. And so just to wrap up here, some of the things that I like to do, this is one of the assets that I always have a few of from the workshop, is some different trailers. I always think that adding trailers to your industrial areas just gives them that very, very realistic look, and it's super important, you know, to me, to have that kind of detail in my industrial areas, because otherwise they just look really, either if you don't add things like this, they look really plain, but if you just zone out all of the buildings, then and you know, don't include any open areas where you can put some props like this, it just looks really really dead, to be honest, and just super unrealistic. So I always like to kind of, you know, make some room for props like this, and especially another one of these containers. Any kind of containers that you can plop down are going to give your industrial area a very, very realistic look, since this is you know, something that you see a lot of. And again, one trailers here, I just love to put these down. They just add so much. And I mean, you could even just see, just looking now that we have some props going down, it just looks so much better. Another thing, and these actually came with the Industries DLC, are just some palettes of different materials, and you can actually, what I like to do is kind of go through and just, you know, line them up like this, and then it's like, there we go. Now we have ourselves like a nice little industrial yard of whatever this is, you know, gives something nice and realistic. Oh, our mining company is leveled up. That is awesome, which means that we can actually finally get our glass for our lemonade stand, our factory. Still a lemonade stand at heart, but you know, a little bit of a bigger lemonade stand. So we'll actually look at that in the next episode. And I think in the next episode too, I'd like to try and, actually, I don't know how this guy would have parked that trailer. That would have been taking a lot of skill, but whatever. We'll see. Yeah, this is actually another great spot here for some trailers. We'd actually put down, another thing that I like to put down too is you know, piles of debris. This always gives your industrial area a nice realistic touch as well. And then again, just some more of these containers. Go ahead and plop them down wherever. And there we go. That looks way more realistic, and I absolutely love how this turned out. So we have a proper industrial area over here now, and I know they are complaining about garbage because this is pretty far, and yeah, that kind of makes sense. So I think the next couple things that I want to do as we wrap up this episode is, oh good, guess they finally made it. Cool. So the next couple things that I want to do is I want to invest in maybe a waste processing plant, and I want to put that somewhere maybe over here in this other what will probably become our second city over here. So we'll get to that in a couple episodes, but we have a lot of work to do here first. But I know that, you know, that's a big investment and needs a big area, so we can actually get that down kind of over here, and that'll help a lot with our garbage problem across this side of the city, which is, you know, pretty far from our current setup over here. And then I also want to really go back to our ore industry and revisit some expansion now that that's leveled up. And then the third thing that I want to do is I want to finally get a rail cargo station. I've been talking about this for so long, and it is so important. I think all of our industry will level up when we start getting rail infrastructure, and because this is all level 1, I'm pretty sure this is all level 1. Yeah, and so our industry will definitely level up when we get some rail infrastructure. I mean, maybe it needs to be a little bit closer, so I might have to put a train station like out this way somehow or something, but I'll think about that a little bit later. But for now, yeah, I definitely want to get a cargo station over here so we can start supplying our specialized industries with some outside goods and have a better way to export those goods to our neighboring cities. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. And real quick fun fact of the day. What's it gonna be? Yeah, so my favorite band right now, at least for drum related things, is this band called Tool. If you haven't heard of them, I would highly recommend checking them out. Their drummer's insane. Me and the bass player in my band, we love to get together and you know, jam through some Tool when we have, you know, a bit of a free night or something. So that's definitely a band that I would check out, especially if you're a musician and, you know, like some of their songs are a little weird. They're a little heavy. They can get real heavy, but nonetheless, they're freaking awesome. And they have, that's a nice building. I like that a lot. They do some crazy musical stuff with time signatures and everything. And yeah, when you really start listening to the music as a drummer, it kind of blows your mind, you know, just the way that their drummer, Danny Carey, thinks through rhythms and everything and through time signatures and how he can groove over like a weird time signature. It's just awesome. So yeah, go check it out. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and have a great rest of your week in the meantime. Peace out.